You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Thank you for tuning in to Medical Talk. I'm your host, Betty Lamar. Today we're talking about what it is really like after having a loved one that is diagnosed with a serious medical condition with my very special guests, Dr. Chuck and Deneen Lester. Well, hello and welcome to Medical Talk.
Thank you so much. Well, we are so glad to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you here.
Yes.
And for those of before we jump into this, because this is really good, I've never had a husband and wife team up with me, okay?
Right.
And she'll probably do most of the talking.
Yes, yes. Oh, no, you've been with us. This is what I was just getting ready to say. A lot of you all probably remember Dr. Chuck Lester.
Yes.
Because you joined me back in when COVID was like raging.
Oh, right.
And
Absolutely.
I had you on, you was remote with me.
Yes.
And I said, I want to have him back because all my guests that I had to film remote back then because they didn't want nobody breathing in here with me.
Yes.
I wanted to have you back.
Understandably so.
Because I want to
to.
follow up with, because we was talking about long hauling and everything.
Yes.
So anyway, everybody, today, what we're basically talking about is what is it like when you have a loved one? Because I remember seeing you in the back of the ambulance.
Yes.
Yes.
When they was taking him off to the hospital.
Yes.
When he was saying he didn't want, don't put Drake in me. Okay, we're going to get into that too.
He sure
So
did.
we're going to talk about that because I know you had a lot of feelings going through that, and then you also had some medical challenges of your own. So to get this started, I want to start with you, Dr. Deneen Lester.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell our viewers and our listeners who you are as relate to our topic today.
All right. Well, I am Dr. Deneen Lester. I am a 33-year human resources professional.
Okay.
And currently serve as the human resources executive leader for the Salvation Army, Memphis and the Mid-South. And I host a talk show, which is called Let's Talk HR with Dr. Deneen. And so I am here today because of the illness of my husband.
Okay. Well, Dr. Lester,
Yes.
bring our viewers back because you're still on my cover page on my Facebook. So we haven't let you go yet.
Well,
Okay.
I thank you for
Because we're
that.
so proud of you and
Thank
just what
you.
you went through was like, oh my God. So
Thank
this,
you.
for our viewers that may not have seen the show, tell them who you are.
Well, thank you. And let me tell you, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for reaching out during that time, for not only looking out for me, but looking out for others in our community. And that's what your show did at that time. It was a very crucial time for education on COVID and everything, and you just nailed it. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate all you do for this community with diabetes and everything that you do.
Thank you.
But I am Dr. Chuck Lester, and I'm a COVID survivor. I was diagnosed with COVID in 2020, and I came on your show in 2021. I survived. Only 6 of us in the hospital that I was in made it through. 6 of us that were on ventilators. It was 64 total that year that was on life support due to COVID, and 6 of us made it. So I'm the executive pastor at Christ Missionary Baptist Church under the leadership of Dr. Gina Stewart.
Okay.
And I currently serve there, and I also serve as backstage help for my wife for her talk show. And I'm just glad to be here.
Okay, great. Now, Miss Lester,
Yes, ma'am.
we're going to go back since he mentioned COVID. Because I always wondered, because he spoke about you so highly and when he was going through his
Yes.
crisis and how you was there for him. And it was just always like, I would love to ask her, what was that like for her? Like he mentioned before, when you would get a phone call, you didn't know if it was to say that he was gone or if he was getting better. Take us there. Take us to the moment when you knew not only that he had COVID, but it was serious COVID.
Serious. And so much so, it was a serious condition. But here's the thing. He walked out of the door laughing and talking just like you and I. 2 hours later, he was on a CPAP machine. 2 days later, he was on life support.
Yes.
So it happened so fast. I had a bundle of emotions going on. The first one was that it was disbelief, because I saw him walk out. I saw him get in the ambulance. I saw him, and then I felt a sense of helplessness, really, because at that time during COVID, no one could go to the hospital.
Right.
No
Ooh.
one could visit.
That was devastating.
It was devastating. So helplessness. I didn't know what to do. I'm a fixer. I like to fix things. So I was not able to do that. So I was in that state for days.
Okay, now I got to ask you about this, because I would never forget this on the show, Dr. Lester, when you said, I told them, do not put that, what do you call it, the ventilator or whatever. I told her, do not, no matter what.
Do not put me on a ventilator.
Yeah, just let me just go on the Glory. And you probably would have went to Glory had it not. Now tell me about that,
Absolutely.
Miss Lester, how you intervened
Well, yes.
and saved him.
Yes, he always said, I do not want to go on a ventilator. Do not put
That's
me
right.
on a vent. I don't want to trach. Just, I don't want to ever do this. And he made it clear to the doctors. The doctors came in. They said the same things to the doctors. Well, when push came to shove, my answer was, put him on the ventilator.
Right.
No questions asked.
Okay.
So, honey, I had to go against you for a minute.
I'm glad you did.
And I'm glad you did. Yes, ma'am. So, yes, ma'am, I had to go ahead and take that lead and make that decision for him.
Okay, so we have like about 1 minute, but this is what I want to know, and then we're going to take it out to a break and come back. So, Dr. Lester, when you realized
Yes.
that you were on a vent,
Yes.
I know you was probably too sick to really think, but did you have even a thought when you woke up and knew that you had a vent?
I did. The first thing I wondered was what happened.
Okay.
And then they told me I was on the ventilator and everything. They called my wife. Did I want them to call my wife? And I told them yes. And then I thought, she had this done. She did this. But I'm glad she did.
Okay.
I was glad she did.
All right, but look, we're going to take a break,
Yes.
and when we come back, we're going to go even deeper into that, because you shared so many things to me
Yes.
about your experience, okay?
Yes.
And I thank you so much, Dr. Lester, for making that executive,
Yeah.
loving decision,
Yes.
right?
Executive
Because he wouldn't be
decision.
sitting here in front of me
I would
now.
not.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Medical Talk.
The orchestra program at Germantown High School is now in its 7th year.
An orchestra, I guess, physically is composed of a lot of different people. Sometimes you'll have chamber orchestras that are maybe only 4 people, and then other times you'll have a 100-piece orchestra. But ours is kind of an in-between. It's maybe like 20 or so, I'd say. But it still takes every player to understand how to perform a piece.
We now have 2 groups, 2 distinct classes, one of an intermediate level and one that's quite advanced, and they play music that is at the level of almost any other high school in the area.
I think Germantown High School's arts program wouldn't be the same without the orchestra, because without it we lose a more classical sound. We lose that kind of warm wooden sound. And not only that, but we lose some fun people that are in the orchestra program.
They're practicing, they're listening to each other, they're cooperating, they're all working toward a similar goal.
It's very fun and exciting, especially when playing in concerts. That level of competition almost, it's just invigorating.
They're able to enhance their own love for playing, for ensemble, for performing. So I believe that certainly if they stick with it, they will really love what they're doing.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Medical Talk. We're having a candid conversation about what it really feels like when a loved one is diagnosed with a serious medical condition with Dr. Chuck and Dr. Deneen Lester. Okay, welcome back again, everyone, to Medical Talk. Now, Dr. Deneen,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk a little bit about some of your medical challenges because, you know, people tend to think that men don't feel anything because, you know, they were sort of raised up from little boys being sort of like that. So now I can jump over after you tell us about your medical crisis.
Okay.
I can ask a man,
All right.
a real man, his feelings when you went through your situation.
Okay.
So tell us about yours.
Well, before meeting him, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm a 23-year breast cancer survivor now.
Okay.
But in 2016, I was diagnosed with heart failure. Had no idea. It's funny how it happened. I was sitting on the couch on a Monday night. We're big wrestling fans, and we were watching Monday Night Raw. And I was sleeping. Usually I'm on 10 from the time I get up to the time I go to bed.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I was sleeping, and he just said, woke me up. He said, "Let's go to the hospital." And I was fussing up. I go to the hospital. Why did I go to the hospital? But I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. Actually, they found it was what is called a left bundle branch, and it's as if your blood from your heart is not going straight to the destination point. It's like going around
Oh, wow.
and coming to the right place. So, yes, and had to wear a life vest for some months, and he took very good care of me.
Okay, now,
Yes,
speaking of a man and his feelings.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what kind of feelings were, like, what was your first feeling, or how do you put it, when you realized this was a real serious matter here? I mean, do men really, can you all really just hold it together, or do you, they should be that play, men cry in the dark?
Well,
So how did you handle
and
that?
that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
I cried in the dark.
Okay.
I tried to be strong in front of her.
Okay.
And of course, you know, when you're married and you're attending to each other's feelings, you know. So she knew that I was crying in the dark.
Yes.
But my thing was to be strong in front of her, but I would step out of the room and go to the stairwell of the hallway and just cry there because it hit like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
I'm a pastor by profession, the executive pastor, and you know, I pray, and the Lord just told me to take her to the hospital. We didn't know anything was wrong. And 2 days later, they came into the room and said, "You have a very, very, very weak heart." And we just looked at each other, and they said, "And you're at risk for sudden death."
Oh my goodness.
Meaning, they said your ejection fraction is 20 to 25. And the ejection fraction is when the heart is pumping blood. Your heart is supposed to be pumping 55 to 75 times.
Yes.
Hers was 20 to 25. So it was barely open to pump. And if it stopped, you die
Flat
instantly.
line.
Yes. There's no, I don't feel good, no, call the doctor, none of that. You just, yeah.
Lights out.
And so that hit like a ton of bricks, and we just held hands and looked at each other because we had no idea. And of course, you know, having to call family and everything, and you know, you having to explain it over and over and over what's going on with them.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
instead,
exhausting right there.
it's exhausting. You're tired, you're scared, you cry. You know, every emotion that a woman would show when a man cares for someone,
Yes.
and I care for my wife, I love her dearly, you show the same emotions.
Okay.
You show the same. You may not do it publicly all the time,
You get it, you go down in the stairwell.
but then you get to the point you don't mind doing it publicly.
Okay. Because it's real. When somebody say it could, any moment you could be, your wife could be out of here.
Right.
It's like bring it all home. I don't care who see me crying. Okay, doing it all.
With what I do for a living, being a pastor by profession, I have seen people with higher numbers than she had that died. Her numbers were lower than some of the ones I've seen to pass on. And so it was really scary. And you have your sleepless nights. Some nights I would just take my Bible and lay it across her chest and pray for her in the middle of the night. And I would cry. I would cry to, my brother, I would call him and I said, I just need to get this out. And he would say, go on. So it's just good to have a support system for the person who's needing the care as well as the person who's giving it.
Well, that's so lovely. If I'm not mistaken, you mentioned in the previous interview that after you finally got past the $20 million COVID bill, something about your, seemed like 20 million, didn't it?
Yes, it seemed
something
like
about your heart, you had to have some kind of procedure from that trait.
Well, the infection in my body set up on my aortic valve. And totally destroyed it. And the doctors came and told me, we will have to do open heart surgery to replace that valve. And they said, there's other ways we could do it. We can do what they call a TAVR, and we can go through your leg, or we can treat it with antibiotics, but you don't have time for all of that. We need to do this. It was Friday evening at about 4 o'clock, and I said, when will we do it? Do I have a few weeks to think about it? They said, we'll see you first thing Monday morning. So it went just that quickly. And I had to have open heart surgery, but I'm thankful that I'm doing great now.
So it's like heart to heart here.
Heart to heart.
Absolutely. Heart to heart. That's so true. And recovered.
So before we leave this segment, we have just maybe a minute left, because when we come back, we're going to talk about some near-death experiences, right? And in this 30 seconds, let me ask you this really quickly. When they had to go in to do the surgery on his heart, what was that? What was your first thought then? Because you'd already went through all this. You already been through this COVID. Oh my God, I can't even call it a word. What you had to go through with him being sick. So what did that in 30 seconds? What was that first feeling when then you knew they had to go in and operate after you finally survived the other?
Well, the first emotion was fear. We've gone through this before. We've gone through a scare before. But now we're going to have to experience something that could be just as catastrophic as COVID. So, but he looks well. He's doing well. The man upstairs, God brought him through. And so.
Now we're going to jump out because I want to hear about seeing the light. Okay. When we come back, we're going to talk about seeing the light, because my mother saw the light too, so I know it's real. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Medical Talk.
I think that the visual arts really help students to develop a new vocabulary.
There's a lot of different ways that you can do art, so it's just multimedia way of communicating, expressing yourself to other people.
At Germantown High School, we offer our introductory classes, which would be our Art 1 classes, Art 1 Honors, and then you would move up into Art 2, Art 2 Honors, and you can go towards the IB path, which would be what I teach, the International Baccalaureate Art classes, and we also have AP Art classes.
That's when you start being able to practice your skills on your own, so the skills that you learned freshman year, you get to start to kind of put them into practice and have a little bit more creative freedom.
At Germantown, we have, of course, all of the basic media, drawing, painting, all of that. But we can do a lot of printmaking. I do some fiber arts in my class, so we do, fiber design, fabric dyeing. We also have some sculptural media and processes that we explore through found object sculptures, some clay.
Even though I'm only a senior in high school, I feel like I'm a very sophisticated artist and ready to, further that.
At some point, in school, you're gonna have something that's gonna have to do with art. You're gonna have to make a poster, this, that, and the third, and you're gonna have these skills because you've taken this art class. You're gonna have new relationships with teachers that you might need later. Like, it's just a big learning experience.
For more information about the Kappa program, visit GHS-Kappa.com or call 755-7775.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back to Medical Talk. We're having a candid conversation about what it really feels like when a loved one is diagnosed with a serious medical condition with Dr. Chuck Lester and Dr. Deneen Lester. Okay, now, when we took a break, we were just going into something that I really want our viewers and listeners to know about, because I know someone had the same experience. So I'm going to throw it over to you,
Okay.
Dr. Deneen, because you mentioned something to me yesterday
Yes.
about his experience.
Yes.
Take us there.
All right. When he came out of COVID, he told me about all the things that he saw,
Okay.
the experiences that he saw, the people that he saw. So, and he talked to me about, it was a man in the window the entire time. So, honey, why don't you tell him about that?
Okay, well, the coming off the ventilator, you remember certain things that had to have happened while you were on the ventilator.
Okay.
And one of the things I remembered was there would always be this man sitting in the window. And I never could see his face. I could just see, the silhouette. And I could see that he had a book in his hand and a pen. And I would always see a lady at the sink. When you're on a ventilator, they can turn it up to full blast, or they can take it down 30%, 40%, 50%. When they take it down, you're a little more coherent than you are. Of course, when it's full blast, I knew nothing. And I think that's when a lot of these experiences happen.
Okay.
I would see these two people, and till this day, one night I was home, I had been released from the hospital, and I just woke up in the middle of the night, and in my mind, I thought those two people were my grandparents.
Oh.
Records will show that during that time, when I would say something about those two people, my blood pressure was stabilized. I was calm. I wasn't as anxious. I wasn't as fearful. And I remember not being as fearful when I would think those two people were in there with me. But one of the biggest experiences, and it took a while for me to tell this to my wife even. I didn't think anybody would believe me, but I was standing in this sand, and it was the prettiest white sand you'd ever want to see. And behind me were the tallest evergreen trees. I mean, it looked like you could just look and couldn't even see the part of the sky. They were so tall, and it was beautiful green. And it came to mind, evergreen trees don't grow in sand.
Right.
There's something different. And there was a flowing stream, looked like a stream, but it was a river. And you could look, it was the prettiest blue water, and you could just look down, you didn't see any fish, anything like that. But across, you could see light coming.
Whoa.
And it was the brightest light you'd ever, but you could see images of buildings across that water. And the interesting thing about it is, I never remember the light hurting my eyes.
Yeah.
But it was so bright that if the buildings had colors, I couldn't tell.
Oh.
Just looked like glass because the lights were so bright. And I said, I have to go over there. I have to get over there. I have to get across this water. And there was a sliding escalator going across from the sand to this, what I call a city. It's like one of the ones you get on at the airport when you don't want to walk with your legs.
Yeah.
And I ran to it and got on and was heading over. And as I was heading over, I could hear, the closer I got, I could hear voices. They were human voices. I didn't know who they were. I couldn't tell what they were saying, but it seemed like everybody was having a good time.
Okay.
And I'm getting goosebumps here just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I do every time, even though it's been a little bit of time. And I was about 3/4 of the way over, and my biological sister, her name is Sydney Kerr, said, I heard her voice in all of this. And she said, Chuck, come back. Chuck, you fight, Chuck. You have to fight. And I said, that's my sister. And I turned around, and the escalator started carrying me back towards the scene. And that was an experience that, till the day I leave this earth, I would think that was glory. That was paradise that I was looking at, but it just wasn't my time to get all the way in.
Yes.
I got a glimpse of it where I could come back and tell people that there's life after this and better life, and there's happiness after this life.
Yeah,
And
and I need to, and Betty Lamar would be inviting me on her show, so if I go on over, I won't, be on the stage with her and my beautiful wife,
Yes.
because I'll be on the other side. But in all seriousness, when you mentioned it to me, Dr. Deneen, I immediately said, I believe it, because my mother had that same experience. And like you said, you heard your sister's voice.
Yes.
My mother she was very, very young, went in surgery and something happened. And she said it was this beautiful light, and you want to really just go with it because it's so peaceful, so beautiful.
Absolutely.
And she said, you just want to go. Your spirit just want to go. She said, but she heard this voice that reminded her, I have my babies.
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of my babies?
Yes.
And she came, in her whatever way, she came back. She just said, but I came back. When she came back to herself, she was still on the surgery table.
Wow.
Yeah.
But she didn't go with the light. And I was telling Miss Deneen, I said, until she died, I was probably 48 then, she always still called her babies.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't want to leave her babies behind.
Right.
Otherwise, she said she would have went with that light because it felt good.
Yes.
So anyway, I want to thank you all so much. Before we know it, 30 minutes is gone, right?
Yeah.
It is.
But I want to thank you all so much, and I'm so proud of you, sir.
Thank you.
And I feel like if faith have anything to do with it,
Yes.
I'm definitely looking at it
Yes.
right now.
Absolutely.
And can I just take 1 second to just publicly thank my wife?
Okay.
Because like you said, if it had not been for her making the decision, going against my decision,
Yes.
I would not be here. So I just want to say on the show, husbands, listen to your wives and trust your wives, because they truly know what's best.
And I can also say, trust your spouse, trust your husband, because had he not taken me to the hospital that day, I probably wouldn't be here today. So thank you so much, honey.
Well, hallelujah. All righty. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Chuck and Dr. Deneen Lester.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Medical Talk with Betty Lamar on GHS-TV. Remember, you can also watch Medical Talk on Fridays at 9:30 p.m. on Channel 17. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at ghstv.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also contact us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Betty Lamar. From all of us at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Medical Talk, and I hope to see you again.